Yeah, you can't resist, yeah.
It tends to go hiding by the end of the workshop. I'm not sure why.
Yeah. Okay, so my name is Rickard Jones. I'm an Agile coach based out of London, UK. CTC, Certified Team Coach for Scrum Alliance, and Organisational Relationship Systems Coach trained as well, which we'll go into because we're going to use some of those techniques in this session. John?
I'm John. I'm ICF, CTC, every acronym you can think of, ORSC. So we just wanted to give you some confidence that we know a little bit about coaching. We're not completely making this up as we go along. There is some science behind it, and we'll go into a bit of that in more detail.
Yeah, so we've got our details here, and this session is about coaching product ownership to unleash innovation. So when I say coaching, it's not just Agile coaches or Scrum Masters. Anyone can do the coaching, including product owners and product management and anyone. So we're going to give you those techniques and approaches and show you why they add value and why you may consider using them to unleash that innovation. So we'll go through creating with you a design team alliance, which we're going to do first. So we have a environment of safety and one hopefully of fun. And then we'll go into a model which is conceptual, which will look at 3 levels of reality and how people feel and their sentient essence, and we'll go into all of that in regards to product ownership. And then we'll look at actually unleashing that innovation with a set of a few questions which John and myself will demo, and then it's a workshop, and because it's a workshop we will work you to do it as well in triads, so you can experience it for yourself, because I have a product when we do this talk that John doesn't know about. So I never reveal that product, so he has to coach that product out of me and unleash my innovation for that product, so he's not aware of it. So it means I have to come up with a different product every time.
Rick makes out that he's got the hard job.
Yeah. So, and then after that, we shall go into maybe you will work through your MVP and your epic product and how you're going to put that together from this session and how you made roadmappers that well. So we're back to the tangibles then. So we're going to flitter from coaching to tangibles so you can see how the value outcome works, so we can unleash that innovation, which is especially important because we believe that people have that knowledge and that capability inside them, but it's not so easily released all the time, and these techniques will help that.
Cool. So we're going to do a DTA now, which is the Design Team Alliance.
Yep.
It's similar to what you might see with working agreements, but the main difference is that, in my experience, work agreements tend to be more practical, like no phones in meetings or turn up on time, whereas this is more kind of values, like we want honesty, we want integrity. It's about creating a safe place, and also thinking about if things get hard, if we have an argument, how we want things to be then. Because studies show that if you have that plan for when things get tough, and things do get tough in your team, and things get tough sometimes when you're discussing products that you're passionate about, you're much more likely to have a successful outcome if you've planned how you want to be in those scenarios before. It's also great as a coach to kind of just reveal what we call the system to itself, so the team you're working with, to say, oh guys, there's some arguments going on here. Should we check in and see how we're doing on our DTA?
Are we staying within our alliance and our agreement that we have made visual and agreed with everyone? And you can always change it. It's dynamic as well.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're going to actually do that. So in this session, what sort of values do you want in this session? I'll kick off with one, fun.
Fun?
Yeah, give me some fun.
Does everyone agree with fun? Everyone
Yeah.
wants? Fun? Yeah.
Fun, yeah. Anyone else? Design Team Alliance. So we're having we're a team and we're having an alliance, which is a bit different from an agreement. So agreement means I tie you into my view. An alliance is we might have different views, but we might have the same end goal. So that's different.
And we can kind of agree, we can align to it, so we might not be fully bought in, but we can agree to kind of...
For an outcome.
To follow it.
Yeah? So, any other ideas?
Direction?
Interaction.
Interaction? Oh, yes.
Productive.
Going to be adaptive.
Productive.
Productive. Yeah. Any more? We haven't heard from this table. No pressure. Timely. Yeah. Okay. Don't overrun, John. This table at the back.
Innovative ideas.
Sorry?
Innovative.
And hard working, you said. Knowledge. Sorry? Knowledge, learning. Oh, sorry, what's your one, sir?
Innovation.
Innovation. I want to see some innovation from everyone. Yeah, I like that. This might be useful in this session. Sorry? Gamification.
Oh, that's a tough ask.
Oh, I want to game it.
Gamification. Well, we did some story cubes, so
Yeah.
we kind of done it.
Let's keep going.
Yeah. What about when things get tough?
Yeah. When things go wrong in our session.
What are you planning to do in this
Well,
session?
Yeah,
Well,
well. So the point of this tool
This
is
is at peaceful for me.
peaceful. Okay.
But you can use this tool for your teams, right? For your product teams, for any type of team. It's a generic team alliance tool.
Okay.
And
So maybe transparency then.
And actually,
Exactly.
what you said happens quite a lot when we do this exercise, which is, oh, well, we're not going to fall out.
Yeah. Respect, yeah?
Respect. And what was the one?
Transparency.
Transparency, respect.
And it's important to point out, so in many organisations, they're like, yeah, this is the policy of the organisation, this is the guideline, this is the way you're working, yeah? But actually, these ideas have come from you. So we've already unleashed these ideas in your team alliance from you guys and this system. So you have contributed. And when you contribute to something, you own it, right? So you own also to discard it. We don't like that, it doesn't work. I want to replace it with something else. So you have ownership of this now.
Is that enough for now? We can.
So the team will have to agree to all that, right? Because if there's one point there that the team as a whole doesn't agree, because you just called out certain things, so if I could say I didn't agree with one of them.
Well, yeah, so it's more, we tend to use more of the circuitocracy type stuff where it's not that you have to agree, it's that you don't disagree.
Okay.
Yeah, but
Because
Object to it.
you don't object to it rather
It's
than.
easier to discuss.
Yes,
yeah,
okay.
but
Because
let,
otherwise.
yeah. Let's say you did disagree with something. I strongly disagree with that statement. I can't buy into it at all. Well, then we'd have a discussion. And also, and if you are unmovable from your position, right, we'd have that knowledge now, not halfway down the line when we're working together and everything, and everyone else would be able to see your point of view, which might be valid, right, from you as a prospective person, right, from your perspective. So everyone would see that up front.
Maybe a simple question, just for me to put myself
Yeah.
in the context. Here you are coaching us to do product ownership, etc.
Yeah.
Or you are coaching us to coach people for product ownership.
So you'll get both.
You get-
So in your
What
triads.
you're going to do now is
So one of you will be the so we're going to demo it, but then you'll get 3 rounds. So one round you'll be the product owner being coached, and someone will observe, and then you'll switch round, and then you'll be the coach, and someone else will be the product owner, and someone else will observe. And you'll get
We're going
3
to demo.
rounds.
We're going to demo it between us, and you will be the observer in our triad, and John's going to be the coach, and I'm going to be the product owner. Right? We demo it first, so we don't drop you in the deep end. Right?
Okay.
But what we're doing is we're getting an alliance first. We're getting an understanding between all of us. So in a real setting, because this is just a workshop, right? In a real setting, we would need that understanding. For the very reason you pointed out, what happens if someone disagrees? We don't want to know that down the line. We need to know that now. We need to know that why. And everyone needs to be aware of that, right? And it may be perfectly reasonable and perfectly normal.
So we will check in on this before we do any kind of
Yeah.
work like
And we
this.
hold each other to this. So if there's no respect and it's not transparent, then we're not keeping to our alliance.
Okay. So we can answer that if we need to later on, but I think, is that good enough for now?
Yeah.
maybe honesty.
Honesty? Yeah.
I can add honesty. Okay.
And you're right, you make this public and transparent for the team.
Okay, so now we're going to talk about 3 levels of reality. Can everyone see that? Or do I need to... Can you see it? And so there's 3 levels, and this is really important, I feel, for innovation. And the 3 levels, I'm going to give a couple of scenarios. So we talk about the sentient essence, and this is kind of the love at first sight type feeling. So you're walking down the street, you see your future partner, and your heartbeat goes boom, 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 boom. And you look at each other's eyes and you change numbers, so you've got each other's number, and then you text in. You get home, you text in, and you're dreaming about how amazing your first date might be. All those wonderful kind of conversations that you're going to have. And maybe you're also dreaming about that it's going to be a completely disaster and you're going to spill red wine all over a blouse or something like that, and you're dreaming there. And then you get to your first date, and normally first dates are a little bit awkward, but they're okay and you cope, and it's neither the high dream or the low dream that we call it. It's kind of in that middle. So the sentient essence would be that love at first sight. The dreaming is kind of thinking about what might happen, and then the consensus reality is that's the tangible. That's when you're in your first date, actually living it. And it's the same when we talk about products. So the sentient essence is when you first create a product, that feeling when you first create something exciting, or when you first start an organisation and you really buy into what they're doing and what their vision is, and you get that kind of goosebumpy feeling that hopefully some of you have had before, because it's quite a special feeling. And then you start dreaming about what's possible, but over time you get into that consensus reality of actually software development's hard and creating products is hard, and you get into this monotonous cycle of kind of drudgery. And this tool really kind of tries to break you out of that and remind you of how awesome this product could be and what you used to think.
And these levels can oscillate. You can oscillate between these over time. So this is the abstract conceptual bit, and then we're going to give you the practicals of how that looks in reality. And there's a lot of science which we can give you the links to behind this on. But it should be understood that you don't stay in one stage or stuck in one stage. People can be stuck in one stage and then they need to be coached out. You need to oscillate between them depending on the context and its relative at the time.
And in ORSC we do that all of the time, so we're constantly oscillating between the 3 levels. Okay, shall we get into demo?
Yeah, shall we turn this one around? Yeah. So we're going to do the demo now of how you coach product owner. So we have some questions. We're going to go for a high dream, which is product vision, and low dream, well, that can be something that's negative or positive. John doesn't know because he doesn't know what product I have, and he's got to coach me. And we have some nice handy questions, and when it comes to your turn, we've got some handouts which are even greater detail, which we'll give you.
And you can take those away, of course, so you can practice.
Yeah, so John is going to coach me through this approach, which is called high dream, low dream in ORSC, for the product.
Great. So, Rick,
Yep.
you've got a product that you'd like to talk about today?
I have got a product. I need to give you the background about my product, for my vision.
Okay, yeah.
So, for many years I thought Agile Architecture was a load of rubbish. It doesn't exist, it's not tangible, it's just, when I look at other people's frameworks like SAFe and Disciplined Agile, they're either doing modelling or process. So modelling is big design up front, and process is process. It's not individuals and interaction. So for many years I thought that. But then in the last few years, I discovered Agile Architecture. So a bit like Columbus, he says he discovers America, but it's always been there. And the natives have always been there, right? So there's a company called TypeSafe. I think they invented the Scala language, and they came up with the Reactive Manifesto.
Okay.
And when I looked at that, that is basically Agile Architecture.
Okay.
And then there's other aspects of Agile Architecture that I've learned over time, DevOps side, in the actual cultural side, and also infrastructure, which is hardware, and people for architecture, and all of this. And there's a lot of things that I've learned in many of my engagements as a software developer, Scrum Master, and so on over the years. And I think there's a lot of that knowledge that I can put together and create a course for Agile Architecture to spread that knowledge and allow other people to spread it.
Okay, so
The product is the course,
okay, so
and the
in
knowledge
your
share.
opinion, Agile Architecture has been rubbish in the past, and people have made some efforts and started to create the product.
TypeSafe is a company, TypeSafe.
TypeSafe is
Yep.
the company, and now you want to bring a course together that's going to bring all that in and really kind of evangelise Agile
Share the
Architecture.
knowledge,
Share the
bring
knowledge.
it together and then share
Okay.
it. Because there's a lot of concepts and learnings that I've done at organisations which I don't think the learnings have been shared. They haven't, I know they haven't.
Okay, you know they have.
Yeah.
Okay, and think back to when you first thought about this product. What did that feel like?
When I had the epiphany moment, which was I discovered Agile Architecture, which had already been there from the Reactive Manifesto, I decided that it was in my head, this was great, this should be shared. So I did a blog on it, but I didn't really turn it into products. I just did a blog on the discovery.
Okay.
So I think it should be, I can turn that idea and innovation into actual tangible
So
product.
what did it feel like?
It felt like an epiphany moment. It's like, duh, of course, yeah?
Duh.
Of course.
Can you just do that?
Duh, yeah, duh.
Okay.
Yeah, like, of
Right.
course, like, obvious, yeah?
Brilliant. So it sounds like you've got a great idea for this product. So what's the kind of highest dream possible for this product? Where could it go?
Sharing the knowledge through a course, and it doesn't have to be me training it, it's other people can train it, and they add to it and improve upon it, and
Okay.
the product. So the knowledge gets spread as much as possible, so we make architecture part of the Agile movement, and it's understood, and it's emergent, it's not big design up front, it's not analysis, it's not modelling and process, which most of the current frameworks have, if they have it at all.
Okay. Is there anything else about that high dream?
Yeah, just make that it's improved by the community as a whole, beyond whatever I envisaged it as. It evolves into its own thing.
Yeah. Okay. And what about the low dream for this product? What's the worst thing that could happen here?
The worst thing is currently what's happening is where I'm not actually creating a product. I've got the idea and I'm not creating the product, and it's not evolving because it's not creative. It's just an idea.
Okay. And have you got any kind of evidence to back up that low dream?
Well, it's not happening. There's no movement on it because I'm busy.
Can you try to ask questions?
If you can ask them at the end,
Okay.
it's quite hard to coach and pick back up. Hopefully you can see where we are in this kind of scale. And just going back to that high dream, have you got any evidence to back up that high dream?
Yeah, I've spoken to other people in the community, and they had the same view as me, that Agile Architecture was rubbish, and then when they read my blog and we discussed it, went backwards and forwards, they've come to the same epiphany as well. So I've had it validated in the community as an idea that Agile Architecture exists, and that and then I've spoken to some other people as well, should we bring it together?
Okay, some other people.
Yeah.
And how does that feel when you think about that high dream?
It feels good, but it also feels a bit scary because, like, you've got to do the work. I've got to do the work now to actually do that.
Yeah, okay, a bit scary.
Yeah, a bit scary.
Okay, so building on that, see, we talked a little bit about your low dream and high dream. Which one are you closer to? So it's fine, it's completely normal to be closer to your low dream or your high dream. There's no right or wrong, but where are you?
I'm probably closer, unfortunately, to the low dream because I haven't really started and got going. I've just got the idea.
Yeah, okay, so have a think about what the first step might be to, if that high dream is looking quite far away, just think about what the next step might be.
So the next step, I think, might be is I think I need to write all the ideas in my head down. I need to get them in paper and then see where I'm at after that.
Okay, great. And when can you do that by?
Probably 2 weeks' time.
Okay, great. See you in 2 weeks then.
Okay, thank you very much.
Cheers.
Right. So we've done the demo, right? We went through high dream. What is your high dream? What could go wrong? What's your low dream? Sometimes this can be positive. What's a smaller version of the product? What supports that low dream? So this is coming back to more actual the concrete. And then we always end on what the high dream is. To try and end on that positive note to take it a step forward.
And we added some bits before, and and after, which are in here. So you've got that sentient essence, kind of getting them to really relive that passion about what it felt like. And did you see that I tried to focus on feelings rather than kind of more tangible actions? And some people are different. Some people find it really easy to talk about feelings, but it's really important to try and get some of that kind of feeling, kind of energy into it. And then at the end, we then went into some more tangibles, which we're going to use later when we get into kind of talking about what you do once you've got your MVP in 2 weeks' time. Which is kind of where are you, which one are you closest to, what's the first step in order to get closer to that high dream?
Yeah.
Cool. Any questions?
Yeah, I was not sure about here, the exact meaning of what supports the low dream. So are you talking about what is the scenario you can imagine in my mind, in my head, that is going to lead to the low dream coming true? Is that what it is?
So quite often we dream up a lot of negativity in our minds. We have a lack of self-confidence without, or some of you might have heard of limiting beliefs, where that really limits our thoughts. And so what we're trying to do is try and navigate up to consensus reality there. So there was a lot of traversing up and down there. So that's bringing it into consensus reality. Okay, this is what you're dreaming. What evidence have you got to support that?
So
To try and break them out of that trap.
Like evidence to support the low dream. Evidence, so what makes me think that
Yeah, what
the low dream
could happen, yeah. What makes you think that dream?
exactly that, evidence, so it's tangible. So we ask some questions which people will think, well, that's a bit fluffy-duffy, that's a bit, light and airy. But we actually linked it to tangibles, yeah? What's going to make me fail? What's going to make me have a smaller product that I can build up in increments, yeah? What are those tangibles? And then let's go back to the high dream. What actually supports the big product vision, yeah? You can swap high dream out for product vision, right? The problem is if you use product vision so blatantly like that, people will then probably go into the consensus reality level because they think of product as tangible. So we want them to dream to unleash that innovation, yeah? Because if you dream and a high dream, there's no limits, yeah? Your imagination is your limit, and as soon as you hit that limit, you can imagine a new limit. It goes to another level, and that's why it seems fluffy-duffy, but actually it has tangibles because we don't want you to have that limit.
To what extent you ask deep and the third and fourth question?
So I don't try and spend too long on the low dream. If you noticed, I kind of went there, didn't ask him about his feelings about the low dream, because the risk there is there's a state called realm in ORSC, and if you're in realm, it means that no new information can enter the system. So if you get someone into low dream and you can't get them out of it, that's going to be a problem. So we just go down, it's important and we value it, and it's perfectly okay for them to be closer to their low dream than their high dream, but we don't try and dwell on it too long. But it comes from just practice and trial and error and being in the moment, and sometimes you need to be in that low dream a bit more and get a bit more evidence around it because it's important to that person.
It depends on the depends on the context of the people involved, the situation at the time. So that's why we didn't use product vision. This is the ORSC tool as is, and we use that tool because it seems like it's not about product if you just look at those questions, but obviously it can be applied to that product, right?
Did you want to add
I was just going to say, why don't we give it a go, and then on the application, then you can ask any questions.
So we've demoed it,
Yeah.
so now we're going to, do you want to take half? Yeah.
Unless anyone's got any questions on the specific application.
Yeah.
Is there a reason why you asked what supposed to go in first and then talk about like you want to end up in a high note or something like that?
Yeah.
Yes, exactly that. We want to focus back on the big dreaming vision.
Yeah.
Exactly that, yeah. So that order is important.
So if you want to get in threes and then decide, like I said, you'll get a chance to
Should be
play
in
all three
triads,
roles.
yes. There we go. So, one of you will coach the other. You have the questions. One of you will be the product owner, so will be coached. So it's probably wise for someone to put their hand up and say, I'm the product owner because I've got an interesting product. Right? Yeah? right? And then one of you can decide to be the coach, and one of you observes how it's done, and then we're going to rotate you.
What is the observer then?
The
Takes
observer
notes.
and sees how it's done and learns.
Oh, okay.
Yeah? We don't.
We call it a coaching triad.
Yeah? And there's no wrong answer because all the
I've got
products
10
are different.
minutes on the clock, so it's 10 minutes per rotation.
So 10 minutes, working, go. Yeah, who's the coach?
Don't worry about what the
You've
product
got-
is, we're trying to test the tool.
You've
If you've got a real
got
product,
the
that's obviously
questions,
better.
yeah? You've got your tool. Yeah, and you don't have to keep to the questions, you can go everywhere. Yeah, but don't but end on the high dream. Bring it back. That's what Is that your high
Where have
dream?
you got to?
Is that what you told him? Okay, cool. Okay, cool. Yeah, and
So remember, you're all going to rotate round, so it's just one person. So one of you is observing, one of you is coach, and one
so
of you is
this is good. But I think this high dream is starting to
So
expand
you're not allowed to say
to
anything.
the concrete level, right? Which is the tangibles. We're just going to stay in the sentient, and then when we go low dream, move up the concrete level, and then come back down again. So that's fine. So what was your question?
which was what's the exact purpose of this exercise, and also why do we work in triads? Is that right?
Yeah.
So the purpose of the exercise is to help with innovation. So by navigating the 3 levels of reality, that helps us unlock different levels of innovation and thought and creativity. And the questions are designed to help and support that. So this is the minimum kind of number of questions. So we've given you this, which is the ultra minimum, then we've given you a little bit more support, but then obviously as you get more experience, you'll notice that I probably didn't use exactly those questions, or many of them.
You adapt as you go along, right? So we have an agreement, safe environment. Then we have a way of unlocking innovation depending on your personal context. Let's juxtaposition that as opposed to have a CEO comes into an organisation, new CEO, and they say, this is what they always say, they say, I've gone round and I've met a few people and I'm really impressed with what I've seen so far. They always say that, right? Who's heard that before? I've heard that before, right? Yeah, exactly, you've always heard that. And then they go, do you know what though would be really great? Is if we just had a little bit more innovation. That would be really great, right? Who's heard that before? Yeah, I've heard that before, right? We've all heard that before, right? Yeah? And do you know what? They're right. But what they don't give you is, how the hell do you do that innovation, right? It's all very well saying, 3, 2, 1, innovate. Go on. Tomorrow I'd like everyone in the company to innovate. Just do it. Yeah? Just like that, right? It's not so simple, right? Sometimes we all go through these phases where, yeah, I've got these great ideas and I'm doing stuff, and other times you go, I've got writer's block. I don't know what to do next. I need coaching.
So actually this week, just gone, I did this with 50 people in an organisation, all different kind of credit risk, kind of different matter experts, real customers. This exact exercise to really get some really crazy ideas out of them of what's possible when you don't have any limits. But in this environment where we're practicing and we've created a safe environment, triads we find works really well because you learn different things from being in the 3 different roles. So you actually learn about what it's like and the empathy of being coached and what that feels like. And that's when you're a coach. For me, this could be controversial, I don't know, but I don't think you can be a coach unless you're being coached yourself. That's my statement. And so it's really important to feel what it's like to be coached when you're a coach. It's important to practice, and that's your coaching. And actually, I find I learn most from being an observer. So being a step back, in Zuzi's talk earlier, for those that were there, she talked a lot about just observing the team and looking what's going on and the power of that. Learning from others is a key part of what we do and how we learn.
Yeah.
Is that better?
And also, I'll throw another one in. You know how people have done many courses, and you may have experienced this yourself, of brainstorming. We're all going to get in a room, we're going to brainstorm. It finds a bit difficult, and it's a bit clammy, and it's a bit, to get going. Eventually people get going because they are naturally innovative, and they can bring it out of them. This helps to draw this out a lot faster, right? We've just done a little session with a few questions, and already people are in a different mindset. They're thinking about innovation already. So if you've got product owners in your organisation, or you're a product owner and you want to increase your innovation, or a product manager who's a product management group, this tool and approach can help you do that.
Okay. So if you haven't already, if you can debrief, for those that I didn't get around to, so I always like to start with the person who was being coached first and how they felt, and then the person who was the coach, and then finally the person who was observing gives any final feedback that was kind of missed. And then switch round and choose a different role and do it again. Different role, well, it's different person, so if you've got your real product, then that's obviously best and it will work. If not, then create one. Another 10 minutes. Yeah.
No, who wants to be product owner now? Who has a product? We're just going to inject back to the DTA, and we're going to say, are we doing and being this, or do people want to change it, or what are people about fun? Have people had fun? Little bit of fun, little fun, yeah, not mega fun. Interaction, yeah, okay. Has it been productive so far? Yeah, for you, yeah? Anyone else who says, no, not really, this is not productive? No? No one productive? Okay. Timely? Yeah, you can't get away with that. That doesn't lie. Yeah. Do we have innovation going on? Yes, innovation. Unleashing. Learning? Are we learning stuff? Yeah, stuff, right? Yeah, transparency. We will come back to them. Peaceful. Has it been peaceful?
I think this was for
Respect? No, because we can reaffirm that
Some
we're being
some
it.
of you might have had some conflicts.
How do we know? You said, yes, we agreed to this. Right. What was that we agreed to? Right? You need to see it and be it, right? Honesty, we're being honest. This one, though, gamification. Are we doing gamification? Role playing? A bit. I'm not so sure myself. Yeah? It was you came up with gamification as I recall, yeah? Yeah, what do you think? You put it.
Some kind of things like
Yeah, but we did that before we did the session.
but
For those that were timely.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Gamification in the sense that you're taking a real life situation and just breaking it down into a high dream and a low dream. So
Yeah.
that's
yes,
in a way making.
Maybe. You guys are very generous. You guys are very generous, I'm sure.
is there anything
To your
missing?
point, right? So if we weren't doing gamification, we've now called that out because we've referenced it. We've gone back, right? So in Scrum we have definition of done. So maybe this is definition of our team alliance, yeah? And are we doing and being it?
And you might agree that, okay, we don't want to have that in our lives anymore, and that's fine. We can remove it.
We can remove it. It
Is there
doesn't
anything missing at the minute? Is there
Yeah.
anything that anyone needs to keep this?
or
this
remove.
space?
It doesn't add value. We take it away because it's dynamic. We can change it. It's not locked in. Not like your company's values and policies.
Critical thinking.
Yeah. So
Okay, should we do the last round?
Yeah, so we will fluctuate from what people may see fluffy duffy, and then we'll go to the tangibles and we'll go back because we're going through our consensus reality. Concrete, sentience, we're oscillating. Because that's how you get the innovation. You have to go backwards and forwards on it. Because otherwise you'll be stuck in one. And you won't have innovation, and you'll have tangibility, or you'll have loads of analysis, paralysis, loads of ideas, and never bring them to the fore. Yeah, do you innovate? Create a safe environment to experiment. you've at least gone through that process that makes you in a mindset of innovation. So you're going to go, everyone in the room, you're going to brainstorm just like this. You can run with, right, with the team. You're a product owner, you can run with the team, yeah, or teams. You go from, yeah. You know, you go from the CEO saying, just go away and do that like that. We all do, system.
So we're working out the best use of this time, and it sounds like you want some tangible. So I was going to tell you the story of how I run this with real companies. So it tends to go in 3 different workshops. So we have a workshop to start with and talk about the current state, and we map out the current state, the process map. So in this example that I did last week, it was current account origination. So we process mapped the current account origination as it is now. So slightly different to this scenario because there is a product, but it's just an average current account that all the main providers give. And then we do what we call a zero-based design day. And in that we do quite a lot of different fun activities. So we ask you to design the best current account possible for someone that you love. So maybe your parent or a family or a friend. And you work in groups, and that's just to really start to get into where you want to go. And then we have some personas, and we'll already have some personas set as part of the current state. But what we do is we put an empathy map on top of those current personas and really get the business people, the product guys, to think about what that person feels. So a lot of the work I do is about feelings. So not just earns $136,000 a year and drives nice cars. It's what do they feel about that current account? Do they care? Is it just a commodity for them? Is it a status symbol? What do they feel? And really get down into that. And then after that, that's when we get into this kind of high dream, low dream, and we tend to break it down into smaller chunks. So in this example, we had 12 areas that we'd highlighted from the current state about the product and where it was weak. One of the states was provisioning of the debit card. So at the minute, it takes the bank 7 days from you opening a current account for you to receive your debit card through the post. You can't do anything in between. So the low dream in that is that the card never arrives and there's failure because it's not signed for type thing. But the high dreams, we started getting things like drone delivery. So delivering it by drone, printing it off in branch, or if you order it online, being able to click and collect so you can get it in branch. Some banks are already doing this sort of thing. We talked about, well, do people actually need a bank card anymore? Are people happy just to have a virtual card on a phone and that's all they ever want to use? And really starting to look at the innovative side of things. We talked about the exciting world of terms and conditions without any restrictions. So there's some legalities there. We talked about things like creating kind of, the books, the storybooks, where you get a choice of whether you go to the dungeon or to the mall, for example. But we did the same with terms and conditions. So do you want to look about how to, when you can and can't use your card, or do you prefer to look at what you do if your card is stolen and what your obligation is? We talked about getting someone famous to do that, for example, and just really played around with those ideas without any constraints. And then what we do, after we've done the zero-based design day, and we've done the high dream, low dream, and we've done these other exercises, is we then have we marry up with the current state, and we create a future state. So we look at that innovation, and we look at what's with some constraints, and we start adding some constraints in, what is possible. And what we find is we get a better end product than without, if you just go in with those constraints, like I said before, you end up staying in that consensus reality, and you don't really open your mind to anything new.
You kill innovation. That's what you do. If you kill innovation, if you put any constraints on dreaming or coming up with new ideas, you're killing innovation. Because unless you can predict the future, who knows what's going to be the products of the future? And if you can predict the future, why aren't you doing the lottery, right? To get the lottery numbers, because you're talking about something that's even more complex than a bunch of numbers. It's about how people are going to use products in the future.
Cool. I've got a couple of photos, so I'll upload them onto the, whatever it's called, the app that we're using, so that you can see what it looks like with 50 people. It's quite exciting. Well, I thought it was. Quite scary as well. Has anyone got any questions about that or anything we've done today?
What if I have insight about if I'm coaching someone and I really can help him with some advice? What should I do?
So that's a perception that you think you can really help him with some advice, but we believe...
Instead of just going through the questions, okay, in one of the questions I have something very good for him.
Let's say that's true, right? Let's say you're coaching someone or speaking to someone, right, and they're struggling, and you've got the answer. And it is true. And it is true, you do have the answer, yeah? How are they self-organising? How are they self-innovating if you're constantly giving the answer?
Well,
You've become the key person dependency now, because they're going to start to rely on you. You haven't unleashed their product's innovation, you've just unleashed yours.
Do you think they'd be bought into what you would say anyway?
You need to resign as coach and apply for a job there.
Yeah.
This was me, but we're not.
And did he give you the advice?
No, I gave him that advice.
Okay, and how did you feel about that?
So
I just stopped thinking and just...
Okay,
Yeah.
so you've given the answer, right?
Yeah.
You've given the answer right there, you
So I
stopped
did that on
thinking.
purpose so everyone can learn that.
Yeah. So here's the thing, right? You will be in coaching situations, if you're coaching, anyone can do coaching, you will be in situations where you go, you know what, I've done this before, I know how this ends up, I know what to do, right? And you're taking a big risk if you do what we call an intervention, and you're intervening in the situation, because they won't learn, even if you're right, you'll actually make it worse, because there actually probably is a higher chance of rejection. People tend to accept stuff that they've come up with themselves, and they find their own route to it as well, to get there.
So in actual fact, if you don't understand his domain, you're a much better coach. Because you cannot be,
Yeah.
you will not find yourself
Yeah.
in a situation
There were-
where you volunteer.
So actually on
There are
Twitter
some
the
people
other
who say
week,
that, yes.
yeah, in fact I said the problem with being an Agile coach is that I know too much about Agile.
Yeah, definitely.
It's really quite a challenge.
It's
But
difficult to unthink that I don't know this.
But it's actually, it does become easier with practice, and so now I'm okay at it.
But on the other hand, there's nothing stopping me from, at the end of the session, once we are done, he's done with everything he wanted to say, and we went through the questions, then I can tell him, oh, by the way, because in this case, he wanted to build a website, and they have students who can build the website. So then at the end, I can tell him, oh, by the way, we have some students who can help you doing that. There's nothing here.
If you like, as long as there's no agenda. That's just
And you have to be clear. You have to. So what I say is, I'm going to take off my coaching role at the moment,
Yeah.
right? And I'm going to do. I'll be transparent. I'm going to do something that's a bit naughty. I'm going to do innovation and the consequences of that. So I explain it. The consequences of that is you're probably not going to accept it, right?
Oh, okay.
Right. So I say that, yeah. I literally, because that's being transparent. Say it, because that's what it is, yeah. And you become dependent upon me. So there's high risk in this. So, do you really want to do that, or should we do some more coaching? Yeah.
And actually, for me to want to move out of that coaching stance and give advice, I have to feel like the organisation is going to really crash. You know, one of the agile mindsets is when we fail, we learn, and I believe that an organisation learns a lot more by failing and learning from that. As long as they're not going to crash, let them fail. Create a safe to fail environment where in most cases if you fail, the organisation's not going to die, and then you can let them just work through that. Okay?
So if you're hired on behalf of a company and already gave you a framework where you can go with the team, how do you do that? They tell you you want to coach X, Y, and Z based on this.
So is that coaching or training?
Coach.
Is that coaching or training? So the company says, we want this framework, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're bringing you in to coach this framework.
You're probably not coaching.
No, coach, example,
You're
we did
consulting.
this with the credit card people.
Okay.
Yes. You were hired by the company, right?
Yeah?
And what if they give you a framework and we want this and we want it based on 1, 2, 3, 4?
You're not coaching at that point, so it's training or it's consulting or...
Okay, thanks.
So coaching never has an agenda. I never have an agenda.
The same tool?
could I use the same tool? You could try, but you wouldn't be coaching because you've got an agenda. As soon as you have an agenda, you're no longer coaching in my
Because you're directing them, yeah? So it's tough. So that's why, so we're talking about, it's tough to coach, right? Because coaching, sometimes you can go into training, mentoring, consulting, but you need to know when that's going to happen, and before it happens, you have to make it clear. So you get Agile coaches who train, they'll do like a 2-day Agile Fundamentals course, right? But it's clear, they have moved into the training mode. They are training. We are training you on the basics. So they have the 3 levels, Shu, Ha, Ri. And Shu is, you have to give people the basics and the terminology. So when you turn around to them and say, we're going to do an iterative sprint, they go, well, what the hell does that mean? Oh, the training, yes. I know what you mean by sprint, yeah? So, but there we're training, we're not coaching. So they get Agile coaches to do training, and then maybe some consultancy of technical excellence and things like that, for example. That's what I do. But I try and move as far from that as quickly as possible to coaching, because otherwise they're not self-resilient, self-organising. And so when I leave the company, it all falls apart. Oh, we haven't got Rick anymore, he's not coaching us. We can give up now. That's easy.
Do you not open yourself up to liability as well? Because when you're contracted to coach, and then suddenly you start giving advice, which maybe for the small team you are okay with, but you are not contracted actually to give advice. You're contracted to
So you can coach.
2 questions. 2 questions. So who's am I opening myself up there?
to liability when you start going into advice.
So coaching in the UK, and I think around the world it's the same. Unfortunately, it's not regulated.
Oh, okay.
Right, that's the problem. I see that as a problem. It should be regulated, because we've got a lot of coaches who are actually consultants, which I don't have a problem with what they say, but they should say they're consultants, right? They can't coach, so they couldn't do all these. They'd be like, what? Why am I asking these questions? Why am I not just giving these people the answers?
Okay, we're out of time. We want to keep to timely.
Yeah.
What is agilecoaching.org is a great place to go if you want to know more about Agile coaching and what we think about Agile coaching.
And many others.
And many others. It's been signed by quite a few people. Yeah. We've got some handouts about ORSC, if that's something that interests you. They do run it in Dubai. I'm not sure the exact details, but they do run the course in Dubai. We've also got some handouts if you didn't get one of these. We've got
the tool and
so just come
the
and
details
grab them
that
from the front.
presents reality, so you can take away the stuff and use it yourself. So you don't need us anymore, right? Because that's the definition of successful coaching.
Contact details are on that
right?
flip chart over there.
Right?
If
So
you
it's
want.
called